When I woke up this morning, I really fancied these little pancakes that I used to have as a child. My mother called them drop scones, and I don't know if that's actually the recipe that she used, but I really fancied these little tiny pancakes called drop scones. So I decided to make some. And the taste of them, especially in this kind of autumnal sort of vibe that we find ourselves in. Oh my word. Goodness gracious. Anyway, so that combination of nostalgic taste and autumnal vibe sort of triggered these memories of my childhood. And it occurred to me that quite a few people asked me about my own childhood as I was growing up and how that pertains to my transition and being transgender. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about that today. So what was my childhood like? Well, to sum it up, I suppose I'd say it was all right. Objectively, I had two parents, I had a sister, I had a brother as I was growing up. I don't think I was particularly unusual. People often ask me about trauma and like difficult experiences, and sure, there were some things which weren't great, but to be honest, I can't pinpoint those things as the reasons for who I am in terms of being transgender today. I just realised I can make cinematic videos. That's very fancy. All right. So, okay, let's start kind of at the beginning. So I distinctly remember growing up, church was quite a big thing, I suppose. We'd go to church every Sunday, and I learned all about the Bible and the teachings of Jesus and all of that sort of thing. And my dad's remained religious, but I don't think anybody else in the family is particularly that Christian anymore. Not for any particular reason, to be honest. I mean, I just think I drifted away as I found the idea that there's one all-powerful being overseeing everything I do, and that I should worship this being without question. Not really something that I could go for. That being said, I know my dad finds a lot of strength and emotional support within that community and with that religious code. But I mean, that's great for him, it's just not for me. So anyway, so I remember that giving me, or at least instilling, a very clear sense of right and wrong and black and white. And so that thinking that there's something different about me certainly tapped into ideas about, am I right, am I wrong? And I'm not saying that religion in of itself created that kind of internal tension, that internal turmoil, but it certainly set the context and it created the language that helped me have that conversation in my head. And that didn't help. It didn't help. That's religion. At school, I think I've talked before about the fact that I never really connected with many of the other boys in the school. I always found them very weird, strange. I couldn't really understand the value in the kinds of games that they play in. To be honest, watching children at play in playgrounds and in parks and stuff, I still don't really understand why we need to be so violent. And I tried. I remember going to a party, a kind of a sword and shield party or something, and I must have been 8, 9, 10, something like this. And we all needed to buy a plastic sword to attend this party. So I bought this plastic sword and I went to this party, and everybody else had all of this weaponry. And we kind of started, but it didn't really appeal. I ended up just sitting down and I think having a conversation with somebody, and everybody else just vanished. And I was left alone in this party because they were all off doing whatever it was the boys were doing, and I just couldn't really join in with that. And I don't know why this comes to my mind. It wasn't a particularly heartbreaking moment, but I think it just exemplifies that difficulty in connection that I had as a young child. So I suppose I'd characterize my childhood as one of moral dilemmas and loneliness, which sounds quite bad and depressing, and I guess if I put it like that, it was. But to be honest, there were moments of happiness and joy and pleasure as well. So for example, like family holidays to France, they were really nice. I guess because it was just the five of us, the family unit, together in one place, which wouldn't really happen that often. But there were other things as well. I wasn't constantly moping around, although my teenage years I certainly felt like I was, to be honest. Now, I had a conversation with my mother months ago, and she talked about her own sadness of not realizing, recognizing and being there for me throughout these periods of unhappiness. And yeah, I get that. I know that's bad for her and it's something that she needs to reconcile with, but I can't give her any absolution there, to be honest. I'm not blaming her or holding her accountable, but to be honest, and this is true for everybody who says that they never knew and that they didn't see any signs of this. This was a learned response. This was a completely, it was a survival mechanism, to be honest. I needed to hide these things because from what I understood about the world and from what I understood about morality, I was wrong. I was bad. I was defective. I was evil. I was all of those things. Actually, funnily enough, that some people would say that I am in my comment section. Thank you very much for that. Nice reminders of childhood memories. But again, I just want to stress that I don't see my childhood as being one of trauma. You know, there were times, there were days, there were moments when I was fine. I wasn't miserable, I wasn't sad, I was okay. But there was this constant drone inside of my head which told me that something was wrong. Now, I mentioned traumas a little while ago. I talked about things that weren't great, especially in my teenage life, and I've talked about being bullied and stuff before, but this is something else. So when I was 17, my parents told me that they were separating, and this was no huge surprise. I could sense that there was something amiss in their relationship. They'd been obviously drifting apart for a while. My dad had taken to sleeping on the sofa in the study for a while, so it was sad, but it was understandable, to be honest. And actually, if you were to see them now separately, you wouldn't put them together at all. They're really happy. They found such happiness in their lives with their new partners. My dad's remarried and my mother's been with her partner for 25 years, a long time. 30 years? I can't count. Like they told me the other day, I can't remember, but it's a long time and it's very, very, very impressive to see. But that wasn't the trauma. The trauma was 2 weeks after they told us that they were separating. My sister was hit and killed by a bus. That was a difficult fortnight. And it deeply affected everybody in the family, as you can imagine it would have done. But that's not a trauma that made me transgender. None of those things, none of the things that happened to me, none of the bad things, not being bullied, not having people around me die or anything like this, none of those things made me who I am. I distinctly remember knowing that there was something wrong with me, something different about me, right as early as I can remember. So, I mean, it's interesting. When people ask me about my childhood, it's obvious that they're trying to find a reason for me being who I am. What made me this? And I can't tell them that. And to be honest, I don't really care. I don't want to know. It could have been some early childhood trauma. It could be a hormonal imbalance in the womb, or as I was developing as a young child. It could have been any of those things, none of those things. It could just be my soul is a female soul, and it was put, unfortunately, into a male body. Who knows? But for me, the search for the reasons why is almost like a search for a cure. And as I was telling somebody in the comments section, I'm not interested in being cured. I don't want to be a cis man because that's not who I am. I don't want to change into anything more than just being more of who I am, or being more, presenting more female, of being the me that brings me joy, not the me that is a way for me to mask who I am for the comfort of others, because that's not who I am. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, I think. But yeah, I mean, to sum it up, my childhood had ups, it had downs, but it made me who I am today. There are things that I would probably have liked to have changed about my childhood, but as I said in a previous video, the circumstances and the things that happened to me brought me to this place, brought me to today, brought me to Warsaw. I mean, look at this place, it's beautiful in the autumn. I have a beautiful girlfriend who loves me and supports me. I have friends around me who love me and support me. I'm transitioning in a way that I think is safe and secure. Would that be true if anything were different in the past? Would I be in a worse place? I can't say. All I know is today I'm fine. Today I'm doing well. Everyone's got childhood issues, but at the end of the day, sometimes all we want is to eat little pancakes for those little bites of nostalgia and happiness from when you were growing up as a child. Thank you very much. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and I'll see you later.